Dr. Alex Rodriguez had been working in deep space for 15 years, but nothing could have prepared him for what he was about to find. The message from his supervisor came through on a Tuesday morning, crackling with static from the long distance. Transmission, Alex. We need you to check out mining station Omega-7. They've gone silent for 3 weeks now. All the automated systems are working fine, but nobody's answering our calls. Alex rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the coordinates on his screen. The station was way out in the asteroid belt, far from any major shipping lanes. It was the kind of place where people went to make quick money and then disappear. 3 weeks of silence wasn't unusual in mining operations, but his company was getting nervous. Probably just equipment failure, he muttered to himself, but something felt wrong. In all his years of space work, Alex had learned to trust his gut feelings. This time, his gut was telling him to be very careful. The journey to Omega-7 took 4 days in his small research ship. As he got closer, Alex could see the mining station floating like a metal island against the backdrop of space. All the lights were on, the solar panels were working, and the station was slowly rotating just like it should be. From the outside, everything looked perfectly normal. But when Alex tried to contact the station again, he got nothing but empty static. He docked his ship carefully, following all the safety procedures he'd learned over the years. The airlock sealed with a soft hiss, and Alex stepped into the station's main corridor. The artificial gravity felt normal under his feet, and the air tasted fresh from the recycling systems. "Hello," he called out, his voice echoing down the empty hallway. "Anyone here?" No answer. Alex walked through the station slowly, checking each room as he went. The crew quarters looked like people had just stepped out for a moment, personal. Belongings were scattered around. Coffee cups sat half-empty on tables, and someone had left a book open on a bed. It was as if the entire crew had vanished into thin air. The mining equipment was still running automatically, digging into the asteroid and processing ore. The computer system showed everything was working perfectly. But where was everyone? Alex spent hours searching the station, growing more puzzled with each empty room. Then he noticed something strange on his scanner. There was an energy reading, coming from a section of the station that didn't match the blueprints he had. According to his maps, that area should have been empty storage space. Following the energy signature, Alex found a hidden door behind what looked like a normal wall panel. His hand shook slightly as he figured out how to open it. Whatever it was. Behind this door, the station's crew had wanted to keep it very secret. The door slid open to reveal a long, sterile corridor that looked nothing like the rest of the mining station. The walls were white and clean, with bright lights that hurt Alex's eyes after the dimmer lighting in the main station. It looked more like a hospital than a mining facility. Alex walked down the corridor, his footsteps echoing strangely in the silence. On both sides, he could see doors with small windows. As he looked through the first window, his heart nearly stopped. It was a cell. Not a room or a storage area, but an actual prison cell with reinforced walls and a heavy lock. Inside, there was nothing but a small drain in the floor and what looked like restraints built into the walls. The cell was empty, but Alex could see scratches on the metal walls, as if someone had been trying to claw their way out. He checked the next cell, and the next one after that, all empty, but all showing signs that someone had been kept prisoner. Inside them, Alex's mind raced as he tried to understand what he was seeing. This was supposed to be a mining station, but someone had built a secret prison inside it. At the end of the corridor, Alex found one more cell. This one was different from the others. As he approached the window, he could hear something that made his blood run cold. It was the sound of quiet crying. Alex looked through the window and felt his world turn upside down. Inside the cell was a young girl, but she wasn't human. Her skin was pale blue, almost like moonlight, with intricate silver patterns that seemed to move and shift as she breathed. She was curled up in the corner of the cell, her arms wrapped around her knees, crying silently. She had no clothes, no blanket, nothing to protect her from the cold metal floor. Her body was covered with small wounds and marks that looked like needle punctures. Someone had been using her for experiments, When she heard Alex's footsteps, the girl looked up. Her eyes were larger than human eyes, a deep violet color that seemed to hold all the sadness in the universe. When she saw Alex watching her, she didn't try to hide or run away. Instead, she just stared at him with those incredible eyes, tears streaming down her face. Alex had seen a lot of horrible things in his years working in space, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. This wasn't just a prisoner or even a kidnapping victim. This was a living, breathing person from another world, and someone had been torturing her. The girl didn't speak, but Alex didn't need words to understand what he was seeing. She had given up hope. She expected him to hurt her just like everyone else who had come to her cell. The way she flinched when he moved closer to the window told him everything he needed to know about what she had been through. Alex's hands trembled. As he searched for the cell controls, he had to get her out of there. He didn't care who had put her in that cage or why they had done it. No living being deserved to be treated like this. Human or not. As he worked on the lock, Alex's mind was spinning with questions. How had she gotten here? Where were the people who had been keeping her prisoner? And most importantly, what was he going to do now that he had found her? The lock finally clicked open, and Alex slowly pushed the cell door open. The girl looked at him with surprise, as if she couldn't believe what was happening. She had been crying for so long that her tears had left tracks through the dust on her face. "It's okay," Alex said softly, even though he knew she probably couldn't understand his words. "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm here to help." The girl tilted her head slightly, studying his face. For a moment, Alex thought he felt something strange in his mind, like a gentle touch that wasn't quite there. Then the feeling was gone, and he wondered if he had imagined it. What Alex didn't know was that he had just made the most important discovery in human history, and what he did next would change everything, not just for him and the mysterious girl, but for every human being in the galaxy. The girl in the cage had stopped crying. For the first time in months, she was looking at someone who didn't want to hurt her, and for the first time since her capture, she felt something she had almost forgotten how to feel. Hope. Alex stood at the open cell door, his heart pounding as he looked at the frightened alien girl. She hadn't moved from her corner, but her violet eyes followed his every movement. He could see she was trying to figure out if he was different from the others who had come before him. "Easy there," Alex whispered, crouching down to make himself seem less threatening. "I know you can't understand me, but I promise I won't hurt you." The girl's silver markings seemed to pulse gently, like a heartbeat made visible. Alex noticed that when she was scared, the patterns moved faster, but now they were starting to slow down. Maybe that was how her people showed emotions. Alex reached into his emergency kit and pulled out a bottle of water. The girl's eyes immediately locked onto it, and he could see how desperately thirsty she was. He rolled the bottle slowly across the floor toward her, then backed away to give her space. She stared at the bottle for a long moment, as if it might be some kind of trap. Then, moving carefully, she reached out and grabbed it. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely open it. But when she finally got a drink, Alex saw relief wash over her face. "That's it," Alex said softly. "You're safe now. Nobody's going to hurt you anymore." While she drank, Alex looked around the cell more carefully. What he saw made his stomach turn. There were old bloodstains on the floor that someone had tried to clean up. Strange tools were scattered around that looked like they belonged in a medical lab, but not the kind that helped people get better. On a small table near the back of the cell, Alex found a stack of papers covered with notes and drawings. He couldn't read the writing, but the pictures told a horrible story. Someone had been studying every part of the girl's body, taking samples, running tests. The drawings showed her in different positions, always restrained, always afraid. Alex felt anger building inside him like a fire. Whoever had done this wasn't just cruel, they were monsters. This girl wasn't some lab animal to be experimented on. She was a person, a living being with thoughts and feelings. The girl finished drinking and looked at Alex again. This time, something strange happened. Alex felt a gentle touch in his mind, like someone was carefully knocking on a door. It wasn't scary or painful. just curious. Suddenly, images flashed through Alex's head. He saw himself from the girl's perspective, saw how he had opened her cell, gave her water, backed away to make her feel safe. But mixed in with these images were older, darker memories. Men in white coats who smiled while they hurt her, needles, and machines, and endless pain. Then, as quickly as it had started, the connection was gone. The girl was looking at him with wide eyes, as if she was surprised by what had just happened. "You can read minds," Alex said, amazed. "That's how you communicate?" The girl tilted her head, and Alex felt that gentle touch again, this time. He tried to think clearly about what he wanted to tell her. He pictured himself helping her, taking her away from this terrible place, keeping her safe. The girl's silver markings began to glow brighter, and for the first time since he'd found her, she almost smiled. She understood that he was different. He was trying to help her, not hurt her. Alex knew they needed to get out of the station quickly. Whoever had been running this horrible place might come back at any time. He found some old coveralls in a storage locker and brought them to the girl. She looked confused at first, but when Alex showed her how to put them on, she understood. As she got dressed, Alex noticed how thin she was. Her captors had barely been feeding her. He also saw that some of her wounds were infected and needed medical attention. But first, they had to escape. "Can you walk?" Alex asked, extending his hand to help her up. The girl looked at his hand for a long moment. In her mind, hands had always meant pain. But something about Alex was different. Slowly, carefully, she reached out and took his hand. Her skin felt warm and slightly rough, like touching fine sandpaper. The silver markings on her hand seemed to respond to his touch, growing brighter where they connected. Alex helped her stand, and although she was weak, she managed to stay on her feet. Together, they walked out of the cell and down the sterile corridor. The girl stayed close to Alex, jumping at every shadow and sound. When they reached the hidden door leading back to the main station, she stopped and looked back at the horrible place where she had been kept prisoner. Alex thought he felt sadness flowing from her mind, but not the kind he expected. She wasn't just sad about what had happened to her. She was sad about others who hadn't been as lucky, others who had been in those empty cells before her. How many others were there? Alex asked, though he knew she couldn't answer in words. The girl closed her eyes, and suddenly Alex's mind was filled with images, other beings like her, but also creatures he didn't recognize. Some looked almost human, others were completely alien. All of them had been prisoners, all of them had suffered, and all of them were gone now. Alex felt sick. This wasn't just about one girl in a cage. This was about something much bigger and much worse. Someone had been collecting intelligent beings from across the galaxy and using them for experiments. As they made their way through the main station toward Alex's ship, the girl suddenly stopped and grabbed his arm. Her markings were flashing rapidly, and Alex could feel panic coming from her mind. She had heard something he couldn't hear yet. Footsteps, voices. Someone was coming back to the station. Alex's blood ran cold as he realized what this meant. The people who had done this to her were returning, and if they found Alex with their property, both of them would be in terrible danger. "We have to run," Alex whispered, and the girl nodded. Understanding the urgency even without words, they ran through the station corridors as quietly as they could, Alex's heart pounding with every step. Behind them, he could hear voices getting closer. The girl squeezed his hand tighter, her silver markings now pulsing with fear. They reached Alex's ship just as the station's main lights began to flicker. Someone was taking control of the station's systems, trying to lock down all the exits. Alex worked frantically to start his ship's engines while the girl watched the corridor behind them. Just as the ship's engines came to life, Alex heard shouting from the station. They had been discovered, but it was too late for the captors to stop them. As Alex's ship pulled away from the mining station, the girl pressed her face against the small window and watched her prison disappear into the darkness of space. For the first time in 8 months, she was free. But freedom, Alex was about to learn, was just the beginning of their problems. 3 days into their journey through space, Alex watched the alien girl slowly come back to life. She had spent the first day curled up in the corner of his ship's small passenger area, jumping at every sound the engines made. But now she was sitting by the window, watching the stars go by with wonder in her violet eyes. Alex had set up a comfortable sleeping area for her with blankets and pillows. At first, she had been afraid to use them, as if she didn't deserve comfort. But gradually, she began to understand that Alex really did want to help her feel safe. The girl's silver markings had changed too. When Alex first found her, they had been dim and moved frantically with fear. Now they pulsed gently, creating beautiful patterns across her blue skin. Alex thought they looked like constellations, so he started calling her Star in his mind. "Are you feeling better?" Alex asked during their morning meal. He had learned to speak slowly and clearly, even though he knew she understood him through their mental connection more than his words. Star looked at him and nodded. Then, something amazing happened. She spoke. "Better," she said in a soft, musical voice that didn't quite sound human. "Thank you." Alex nearly dropped his food. "You can speak English?" Star tilted her head, and Alex felt that familiar gentle touch in his mind. Images flowed between them, showing him how her people learn. They didn't just hear languages. They absorbed them directly from other minds. During their 3 days together, she had been learning English from his thoughts. "I learned from you," she said carefully, as if each word was precious. "Your mind teaches mine." Alex felt amazed and a little embarrassed. If she was learning from his mind, she probably knew more about him than he had intended to share. But Star seemed to sense his worry and shook her head. "Only words," she assured him, "and kindness. Your heart is good." Over the next few hours, Star began to share more with Alex through their mental connection. She showed him images of her home world. Alex saw beautiful cities that seemed to grow from the ground, like crystal trees with buildings that curved and spiraled toward the sky. The people looked like Star, with blue skin and silver markings. But their patterns were all different, like fingerprints. "My people are called Luminari," Star explained, her English getting better with each word. "We live in peace. We grow our cities, not build them. We share thoughts, share feelings, share life." Alex saw images of Luminari families working together in perfect harmony. Their silver markings would synchronize when they were happy, creating beautiful light shows across their bodies. Children played games that involved making their patterns dance together in complex rhythms. "It looks beautiful," Alex said, feeling a deep sadness for what Star had lost. But then the images changed, becoming dark and terrifying. Star showed him the day her world was attacked. Ships had come from space, not to trade or explore, but to take prisoners. The attackers had weapons that stunned rather than killed, and they had taken the youngest and strongest Luminari they could find. "They took me from my family," Star whispered, tears starting to flow down her face. I was gathering crystals for my mother. I was going to surprise her." Alex felt his heart break as he watched Star's memories. She had been just a teenager by her people's standards. Excited about giving her mother a gift, the attackers had grabbed her while she was alone, far from anyone who could help. "How long were you on that station?" Alex asked gently. "Many moons," Star replied. "They did bad things, took my blood, studied my mind, tried to make me angry so they could see my patterns change. But I would not give them anger, only sadness." Alex understood now why Star's captors had kept so many detailed notes. They weren't just cruel. They were studying her people for some purpose. But what could they want with the peaceful Luminari? Their conversation was interrupted by a loud beeping from the ship's computer. Alex rushed to the control panel and felt his blood turn cold. 3 ships were following them, and they were closing in fast. "Star, we have company," Alex said, trying to keep his voice calm. Star came to look at the screen, and her markings immediately began flashing with fear. "They found us," she whispered. "The bad people found us." Alex worked frantically at the controls, trying to make his small research ship go faster. But the pursuing ships were military grade, built for speed and combat. His ship was designed For scientific work, not running from enemies. I can't outrun them, Alex admitted. We need to find somewhere to hide. That's when Star surprised him. She walked over to the navigation computer and placed her hands on the control panel. Her silver markings began to glow brighter, and suddenly the ship's systems started responding in ways Alex had never seen before. What are you doing? Alex asked in amazement. My people, we understand machines differently. Star explained, her markings now pulsing in rhythm with the ship's computers. We speak to them, like speaking to friends. The ship suddenly changed course, diving toward a nearby asteroid field. Alex would never have dared to fly into such a dangerous area, but under Star's guidance, the ship moved through the floating rocks like it was dancing. How are you doing this? Alex asked as they weaved between asteroids that should have crushed them. I asked the ship to hide us, Star said simply. I showed the patterns of the rocks, and it finds the safe paths. Behind them, their pursuers. We're having a much harder time. One of the military ships scraped against an asteroid and had to slow down. Another lost them completely in the maze of floating stone. But the third ship kept following, its pilot more skilled than the others. Alex could see it on his screen. Getting closer despite Star's amazing piloting abilities. They're still coming, Alex warned. Star closed her eyes and concentrated harder. Her markings were now so bright they lit up the entire control room. Alex felt something incredible happening in his mind, as if Star was showing him how she saw the universe. To her, everything was connected, everything was alive in its own way. The ship responded to her will like a living creature, diving and spinning through the asteroid field with impossible grace. Alex watched in wonder as Star guided them deeper, into the maze of rocks, finally bringing them to rest in the shadow of a massive asteroid. They waited in silence for what felt like hours. Finally, the pursuing ships gave up and left the asteroid field, unable to find them in the vast collection of floating stone. We're safe, Alex said. Hardly believing it, Star collapsed into a chair, exhausted from the effort. Her markings had dimmed back to their normal gentle glow, but Alex could see that using her abilities had taken a lot out of her. For now, she said quietly, but they will keep looking. They want me back. Alex looked at the small, brave girl who had just saved both their lives and made a decision that would change everything. Then we'll make sure they never find you, he said firmly. I promise. Star looked at him with those incredible violet eyes, and for the first time since he found her, she smiled, a real smile, full of hope and trust. Thank you, Alex, she said. Thank you for giving me back my freedom. As they sat in the shadow of the asteroid, Alex realized that saving Star was just the beginning. Now he had to figure out how to keep her safe in a galaxy where some people saw her as nothing more than a valuable prize to be captured and studied. But looking at her smile, Alex knew he would do whatever it took to protect her. Star deserved to be free, and he was going to make sure she stayed that way. 2 weeks after their escape from the asteroid field, Alex and Star arrived at Haven Station, a massive trading post that floated in neutral space. It was the kind of place where no one asked questions and everyone minded their own business. Perfect for people who needed to disappear for a while. Star pressed her face against the ship's window as they approached the station. Her violet eyes grew wide with wonder as she saw hundreds of different ships docked around the enormous structure. Some were sleek and modern. Others looked like they were held together with spare parts and hope. So many different people, Star whispered, her silver markings pulsing with curiosity instead of fear for the first time since Alex had found her. Haven Station is home to beings from all over the galaxy, Alex explained as he guided their ship toward an empty docking bay. You'll see species here that most humans have never even heard of. As they walked through the station's busy corridors, Star stayed close to Alex. But her eyes were everywhere. She saw it all. Thin beings with crystal-like skin, short furry creatures with 4 arms, and even some that looked almost like walking plants. Each species was different, but they all seemed to coexist peacefully in the neutral territory of the station. Alex had contacted an old friend before arriving, someone he trusted who worked in the station's information network. They met at a Small cafe tucked away in one of the quieter sections of the station. "Alex, you look terrible," said Dr. Chen Wei, a woman in her 50s who had been trading information in the outer systems for decades. "What kind of trouble are you in this time?" Alex glanced around to make sure no one was listening, then leaned forward. "The kind that could get us both killed if the wrong people find out about it." Chen Wei's expression grew serious as Alex told her about finding Star and escaping from the mining station. When he finished, she sat back in her chair and whistled softly. "You stumbled into something big." "Alex, bigger than you realize." "What do you mean?" Chen Wei pulled out a small data pad and showed Alex a list of names and dates. Over the past 5 years, 17 ships have gone missing in remote sectors. All of them were officially listed as mining accidents or pirate attacks. But I've been tracking patterns, and I think someone has been using these ships as cover for something else. Star, who had been quietly listening to their conversation, suddenly grabbed Alex's arm. Her markings were flashing rapidly, and he could feel distress flowing from her mind. "What is it, Star?" Alex asked gently. Through their mental connection, Star showed him images from her captivity. Among the faces of her tormentors, Alex recognized some of the people Chen Wei had photos of on her data pad. They weren't just random criminals. They were part of an organized group. "She knows some of these people," Alex told Chen Wei, his voice grim. "They're the ones who kept her prisoner." Chen Wei studied Star carefully, then leaned forward. "Can't she tell us anything else about what they were doing?" Star closed her eyes and concentrated. Slowly, images began forming in Alex's mind, which he described to Chen Wei. He saw laboratories hidden inside fake mining stations, holding cells filled with beings from dozens of different species, and research files containing detailed studies of alien biology and abilities. They're not just capturing people randomly, Alex realized. They're specifically targeting species with unique abilities. "But why?" Chen Wei asked. Star opened her eyes and spoke in her soft, musical voice. "They think big war is coming. They want to study us, learn our gifts, use them for fighting." Chen Wei's face went pale. "They're preparing for interstellar conflict. They think if they can understand and replicate the abilities of peaceful species, they can create super soldiers or advanced weapons." Alex felt sick as he understood the full scope of what they had discovered. How many others are out there? How many beings like Star are being held prisoner right now, based on the missing ship reports? "Potentially hundreds," Chen Wei replied grimly. "Maybe more." Star stood up suddenly, her markings now glowing with determination rather than fear. "We must help them," she said firmly. "My people, other people, all trapped like I was trapped. We cannot leave them." Alex looked at the small alien girl who had been through so much horror, yet still wanted to help others. "Star, it's too dangerous. These people have military ships, weapons, trained soldiers. We're just one person and one luminary." Star interrupted, her voice stronger than Alex had ever heard it. "My people have gifts you do not understand yet. I am stronger now, not broken anymore. I can help." Over the next few days, Star proved just how much she had recovered from her ordeal. She made friends with a young mechanic named Kex, a four-armed being from the Rigel system who worked on ships in the station's lower levels. Despite their different species, Star and Kex found ways to communicate and even laugh together. Alex watched in amazement as Star's natural curiosity and intelligence shone through. She learned new languages from the various aliens on the station, not just their words but their ways of thinking. Her empathic abilities allowed her to understand others on a level that went far beyond simple communication. But their peaceful time on Haven Station was about to come to an end. Chen Wei burst into their quarters one evening, her face full of urgent concern. "We have a problem," she announced. "Bounty hunters arrived this morning. They're asking questions about a missing alien girl and offering a huge reward for information." Alex felt his heart sink. How did they find us so quickly? They didn't, not exactly. But they're searching every neutral station in this sector. It's only a matter of time before they trace you here. Star walked over to the window and looked out at the busy station corridors. "How many hunters?" she asked calmly. 3 teams that I know of, maybe more on the way. Alex started gathering their belongings, preparing to run again. But Star didn't move from the window. I am tired of running, she said quietly. I am tired of hiding while others suffer. Star, we don't have a choice. If they catch you, if they catch me, I will show them what they do not expect, Star replied, turning to face Alex with a look of quiet determination. I will show them the truth. What do you mean? Star's markings began to glow brighter as she explained her plan. My people's greatest gift is not our ability to speak with machines or see into minds. Our greatest gift is empathy. We can share, not just thoughts, but feelings, experiences, memories. Alex began to understand what she was suggesting. You want to show the bounty hunters what you went through. Not just me, all of us. Every being who has been captured, studied, hurt by. These people, I can share their pain, make others feel what we felt. Chenwei looked skeptical. That's incredibly dangerous. If something goes wrong, something is already wrong, Star said firmly. People are suffering right now while we talk. I cannot save everyone, but I can try to save some. That night, as the first team of bounty hunters closed in on their location, Star put her plan into action. Instead of running or hiding, she walked straight into the station's main plaza where crowds of beings from dozens of species gathered to trade and socialize. The bounty hunters spotted her immediately and moved to surround her. But as they got closer, Star did something that no one expected. She reached out with her empathic abilities and touched the minds of everyone around her. For just a moment, every being in that plaza felt what Star had felt during her months of captivity. They experienced her fear, her pain, her desperation, and her loneliness. But they also felt something else. They felt the kindness that Alex had shown her, the friendship she had found with Kex, and the hope that had grown inside her heart since her rescue. The effect was immediate and powerful. Several of the bounty hunters stopped in their tracks, overwhelmed by the emotions Star had shared. Others dropped their weapons, unable to continue their hunt after feeling what their target had endured. Word of what happened spread quickly through Haven Station. For the first time, beings from across the galaxy had felt firsthand what it was like to be captured and experimented on by the secret organization. The outrage was swift and widespread, but Star's brave act had consequences. By revealing herself and her abilities so publicly, she had painted a target on her back that would be impossible to remove. Now everyone in the galaxy would know about the special alien girl and the incredible gift she possessed. As Alex watched Star stand in the center of the plaza, surrounded by beings from dozens of worlds who now understood her story, he realized that their journey was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. Star had chosen to stop hiding and start fighting back, and that choice was about to change everything. 6 months after Star's brave stand at Haven Station, the galaxy was a different place. News of her story had spread to every civilized world, carried by traders, diplomats, and refugees who had witnessed her incredible display of empathy. For the first time in galactic history, different species were working together to solve a common problem. Alex stood in the conference room of the newly formed Alliance for Peaceful Contact, watching Star address representatives from 47 different worlds. She was no longer the frightened girl he had found in a cage. Her silver markings now glowed with confidence and purpose, and when she spoke, beings from across the galaxy listened. My friends, Star said in the clear, musical voice that had become famous throughout known space. Today we gather not as separate species, but as one family united by a common hope for peace. The audience included humans, Luminari, Regelians, crystalline builders, and dozens of other species that had never worked together before. What united them all was the shared understanding of what Star had endured, and their determination to prevent it from happening to others. In the months since Haven Station, Star had become something no one expected, a bridge between worlds. Her unique empathic abilities allowed her to help different species understand each other in ways that had never been possible before. When trade disputes arose, Star could help both sides feel what the other was experiencing. when cultural misunderstandings threatened to cause conflicts. Star could share the true intentions behind actions that seemed hostile. But the work had come with a price. The secret organization that had held Star prisoner was still out there, and they wanted her back more than ever. They had tried bribes, threats, and even direct attacks. But Star was now protected by an alliance of species that would not let her be captured again. Alex watched as Star gestured toward a large display, showing the locations of 17 rescue missions that had been successful over the past few months. Working together, the Alliance had located and freed over 100 beings who had been held prisoner. By the secret organization, each rescue brings us closer to our goal, Star continued. Not just to free those who are trapped, but to show the galaxy that cooperation is stronger than conflict. From his seat in the audience, Alex remembered the day everything changed. It had started with a message from Dr. Chen Wei, who had been investigating the organization's activities. She had discovered something that shook the foundations of what they thought they knew about the conspiracy. Alex, you need to see this, Chen Wei had said, her face pale with shock. The organization isn't just capturing aliens for military research. They're trying to start a war. The evidence was overwhelming. The organization had been secretly attacking both human and alien settlements, making each side believe the other was responsible. They wanted different species to fight each other, so they could step in as the ultimate power in the galaxy. But Star's emergence had ruined their plans. Instead of species fighting each other, they were working together. Instead of fear and suspicion, there was understanding and cooperation. That's why they want her so badly, Chen Wei had explained. She's proof that peace is possible. As long as she's free and speaking out, their war will never happen. Now, as Alex watched Star address the Galactic Alliance, he saw how much she had grown. The scared, broken girl in the cage had become a leader who inspired beings across the galaxy to believe in something better. But Star's greatest test was still to come. After her speech, Star found Alex in the quiet garden behind the conference center. It was one of the few places where she could be alone with her thoughts, surrounded by plants from dozens of different worlds that somehow managed to grow together in harmony. Alex, she said softly, I need to tell you something important. Alex could tell from her tone that something serious was troubling her. What's wrong, Star? My people have sent a message, she said, her silver markings pulsing with a mixture of joy and sadness. They want me to come home. Alex felt his heart skip a beat. In all the months they had worked together, Star had never mentioned the possibility of returning to her homeworld. He had assumed that was impossible, that her captors had made sure she could never find her way back. That's wonderful news, Alex said, though he couldn't hide the sadness in his voice. You must miss them terribly. I do, Star admitted. Every day I think about my family, my friends, the crystal gardens where I used to play. But I also think about all the beings who are still trapped, all the species who have never learned to understand each other. Alex began to understand them. Choice Star was facing. You can't do both, can you? Go home and continue the work here. Star shook her head. My people are peaceful. They do not travel between stars or involve themselves in galactic politics. If I return to them, I become like them again, safe, but unable to help others. They sat in silence for a while, watching the alien plant sway in the artificial breeze of the station's atmosphere system. Finally, Star spoke again. When you found me in that cage, I had given up hope. I thought I would die there, alone and forgotten. But you showed me that there was still kindness in the galaxy. You saved yourself, Star. I just opened the door. No, Star said firmly, you did much more than that. You taught me that one person's choice to help another can change everything. When I was trapped, you chose to free me. When I was afraid, you chose to protect me. When I was alone, you chose to be my friend. Alex felt tears forming in his eyes as he realized what Star was trying to tell him. Now I must make my choice, Star continued. I can choose to go home to safety and happiness, or I can choose to stay and help others find their freedom. What will you do? Star stood up and looked out at the stars, visible through the station's great windows. Her silver markings were glowing. brighter than Alex had ever seen them, creating patterns of light that seemed to dance with hope and determination. "I choose to stay," she said simply. "I choose to help others the way you helped me. I choose to prove that peace is possible." That understanding can overcome fear, that even the darkest cage cannot hold back the light of hope. Alex stood beside her, feeling proud of the incredible person Star had become. "Your family will understand. They will," Star said with a smile, "because they taught me that love means wanting the best for others, even when it hurts to let them go. They will understand that this is where I need to be." 2 years later, Alex watched Star address the first Galactic Peace Summit, where representatives from over 100 species came together to sign agreements for cooperation and mutual protection. The secret organization that had once threatened to plunge the galaxy into war had been completely dismantled, its leaders captured, and its victims freed. Star had become exactly what she chose to be, a symbol of hope for beings everywhere who believed that differences could be celebrated rather than feared. That understanding was stronger than hatred, and that even the smallest act of kindness could change the course of history. As the ceremony ended and delegates from across the galaxy came forward to thank Star for her work, Alex remembered the moment he first saw her in that cage. Broken and alone, he thought about the choice he had made to help her, and how that single decision had led to peace between the stars. Star caught his eye across the crowded room and smiled. In that smile, Alex saw not just gratitude, but the promise that no being would ever have to face the darkness alone again. Together, they had proven that hope could triumph over despair, that freedom was worth fighting for, and that sometimes the most important choice is simply to care about someone else's pain. The girl who had once known only tears now brought joy to an entire galaxy, and it all started with one person's decision to open a cage and set hope free.